Hello and welcome back to the world of the spirit consciousness. This is the continuation of the book study session on the astral body and other astral phenomena. We are now in the 19th module, which is the last module, and this module talks about invisible helpers. Let us continue straight into our discussion. So let us see the work on the astral plane. So again, this topic has been subdivided into subtopics. So we'll cover the spiritual advancement of humans is the key astral work. We'll look at examples of physical help, the help for the deceased, the influence on thoughts by a helper, other types of help, and that materialization to perform work on physical plane, how it is undertaken. So spiritual advancement of humans is the key work. So a wide range of work is carried out in the astral world. All of them have a common aim at advancing the evolution. Sometimes this work is related to the development of lower kingdoms, which are the elemental, vegetable, or the animal kingdoms. It is possible to advance these kingdoms too under specific conditions. So in some cases, the progress of lower kingdoms can happen only by human connection or human use. For example, an animal can individualize only via some classes of domestic animals. So work directed towards humanity accounts for most of the work and for the most important works. Most of this work is to do with his or her spiritual advancement. So complete physical assistance can be given, but this is very rare. Notably, the rare cases wherein an astral helper physically intervenes is possible because there is a karmic tie-up between the helper and the one who receives help. Hence, the help received in a previous life is acknowledged, and the kindness shown in one lifetime is returned in a future lifetime, even though the methods discussed are uncommon. So, let us see the examples of physical help. So, Invisible Helpers by Leadbeater is a classic book on this subject. It gives several clear examples of physical involvement. At times, an invisible helper can perceive the upcoming danger to someone with their wider vision. They can also make an impress the idea of the danger to the one who may become a victim, to a friend of that person who can be of help, and shipwrecks have been averted in this way. So during other times, the invisible helper either materializes himself or is materialized with a more experienced helper just enough to bring someone out of danger. For instance, saving a child from a burning building or saving someone from falling off a precipice, guiding lost children back home, etc. A helper found a wounded boy who had fallen off a cliff and injured an artery. The former materialized just to tie a bandage and stop the bleeding, which could have killed the boy. In the meanwhile, another helper impressed the idea on his mother that he is in danger and hence led her to the location. In rare instances, physical guidance is given by a master to human beings. Leadbeater explains a case that occurred with him. He says that as he was walking along a road, he suddenly heard his Indian teacher, who was 7,000 miles away at the time, calling out, "Spring back!" He quickly took a step back as a heavy metal chimney pot smashed on the pavement less than a yard away from his face. In another surprising case recorded, a woman found herself in a physically dangerous situation amidst a violent street riot. She was suddenly saved from the crowd and placed unharmed in a nearby empty street. Possibly, her body was lifted over the houses in between and placed in the adjoining street. She was probably enveloped in an etheric matter so that no one would be able to see her being transferred by air. So there is a role of karma in miracles in major disasters which kill several people. One or two people are allowed to be miraculously saved because it is not in their karma to die at that point. This means that they don't owe a debt to the divine law, which can be paid by dying in the disaster. So let us see the help for the deceased. Let us understand more over here what kind of help that they receive. Again, subdivided into various parts. So invisible helpers are a huge help for the deceased. And we will see the kind of help that the deceased get and the types of request by the deceased to the invisible helpers. So, after studying the chapters on after death life, it must be clear that invisible helpers can extensively help those who have passed away. Majority of the deceased are ignorant about life after death, and several are afraid at the possibility of hell or eternal damnation, especially in the Western countries. This fear causes a lot of suffering to the newly deceased and also delays their natural progress to the higher realms. This keeps them from understanding the future ahead as far as possible. A lot of work needs to be done in making people aware about the actual condition and the nature of the astral world where they find themselves. The chief function of invisible helpers is to comfort those who have passed away recently and whenever possible to set them free from the fear which grips them. It has been mentioned that this work earlier was exclusively done by a higher level of non-human entities. However, since recent times, humans who can consciously function on the astral plane have the honor to help in this work based on love. So the kind of help that the deceased receive, so beings who have been on the astral plane since a long time are guided through advice and explanations about their journey through the various stages. Hence, they are cautioned against trying to communicate with the living through a medium and the dangers and delay involved in it. Sometimes a being that is already taken into a spiritualistic circle may be assisted into a higher and better life, although this rarely happens. This guidance can't be carried forward to the next birth, but this real inner knowledge always stays within, and hence, when the individual hears it again in the new life, they are inclined to accept it immediately. So, some newly deceased are full of grief because they see themselves as they are on the astral plane. The helper can explain to them that what has happened in the past can't be changed. The only valuable repentance is the determination to do better in future. Individuals must accept themselves as they are while constantly improving themselves and living a truer life in the future. So when the desire elemental has rearranged the astral body, an invisible helper can break up the formation and restore the astral body as it was before. This is done so that the deceased can view the entire astral plane rather than only one astral subplane. Now the invisible helpers get various types of requests. Let us see what kind of requests that they get. Certain beings may be distressed by their strong wish to heal a wound that they had caused during their earth life, soothe their conscience by revealing a disgraceful secret they guarded very closely, or disclose where the important papers or money are kept, etc. In some situations, the invisible helpers can intervene in the physical world in a way only to appease the deceased. However, in majority of situations, the helper can try their best to convince the deceased that it is too late to make amends and hence futile to mourn over the troubles. They try to convince the deceased that one has to let go of the earthly thoughts which keep him or her closely connected to earth life and to do his or her best in the new birth. So having seen the help for the deceased, let us see the influence on thoughts by a helper. So the living also do a huge amount of work by filling good thoughts in the minds of people who are willing to receive them. It is extremely simple for a helper to influence an average person's mind as they wish without raising the slightest suspicion of an external influence. It is so simple, it is unfathomable by those who don't understand the concept practically. However, it is just not permitted. All that can be done is pour a good thought into the person's mind amidst the several thousands already running through it, and hope that the person will catch the good thought, make it one's own, and act on it. So, a variety of guidance can be given in the above mentioned way. Those who are grieving or suffering from an illness are consoled. Those who have separated because of differences of opinions or interest are reunited. Those who are sincerely seeking the truth are guided towards it. Frequently, it is possible to put the solution of a metaphysical or spiritual problem into the mind of someone who's eagerly thinking about it. Lecturers are guided by suggestions or images, either by materialization in finer particles in front of him or her, or it is impressed upon his or her brain. So, what are the other types of help that can be given? Suitable students are also assigned the work of suggesting beautiful and authentic thoughts to poets, musicians, authors, and artists. Although rarely, at times it is possible to caution people against the threat to their moral development based on the path that they are on. It is possible to get rid of negative influences around someone or someplace and thwart the schemes of black magicians. There is a very wide scope of work done by invisible helpers on the astral plane. Undoubtedly, therefore, it is a pupil's duty to help in carrying out of this work by every means he is capable of. The invisible helper's work would not be carried out unless each student were doing the duty at the level they are at in the best possible way. Once they pass beyond that level, a higher level of work is surely given to them. So, materialization to perform work on the physical plane. So, again, this has been subdivided. We'll look at the types of materialization on the physical plane. Materialization using a medium, the use of willpower in materializations, and materialization by a student of a master. Now, to perform an act on the physical plane, it is very important to have knowledge of how to materialize an astral body. There are three clearly described types of materialization. One which is tangible but not visible. So, most usual type found at sciences are used to move small objects and for the direct voice. A kind of matter is used which neither reflects nor obstructs light but can produce sound under specific conditions. One type of tangible materialization influences some ultraviolet rays, hence facilitating the spirit photographs. Then the other type of materialization is visible but not tangible. And then you have what is called as the perfect materialization, which is both visible and tangible. A lot of spiritualists are aware of all three types of materializations. So the materializations we discussed above occur with an effort of will. This effort of altering matter from its natural form to another form is for that moment against the cosmic will per se. The efforts must be focused the entire time because if the mind is distracted for even half a second, matter rushes back to its original state as fast as lightning. A complete materialization occurs by utilizing the matter of the mediums and the sitter's etheric and physical bodies as spiritual sciences. Hence, it is very clear that the closest association forms between the medium and the materialized body. We will discuss its importance in the coming slides. So, which is the risk of using a medium for materialization? So, repercussion takes place when the materialized form is injured in some way. It is then produced in the corresponding part of the medium's body with precise accuracy. Another way it occurs is commonly witnessed as spiritualistic seances. When chalk is rubbed on the materialized hand, it is found in the medium's hand after the medium has disappeared. So, when a helper materializes a form with the help of ether or air, no such injury occurs by repercussion. It would have same impact as a repercussion of the helper's physical body due to an injury on a marble statue of himself. However, if a being on the astral plane thinks that a physical threat like a falling object can injure, the physical body may possibly get injured via repercussion. So the concept of repercussion is obscure and difficult and hasn't been understood completely yet. To understand it accurately, one must understand the laws of sympathetic vibration on multiple planes. So undoubtedly, let us see the use of will in materialization. So the will holds an amazing amount of power over the matter of all the planes. If the power is strong enough, its direct activity will produce almost any result. This result will occur even if the person putting the will to use does not even have any idea as to how it works. This will can be developed to any possible extent. The willpower works in materializations even though actually it is an art that has to be learned like any other art. So just like an ordinary individual will have to learn to play the violin before playing it, likewise, an ordinary person on the astral plane will have to learn how to materialize before actually doing it. So in some exceptional situations, deep sympathy and focused thoughts can help a person produce temporary materialization. This is possible even if she or he is not aware of how to do it consciously. Now let us see materialization by a student of a master. So as discussed earlier, a medium has to undergo risk and tremendous pressure for materialization at seances. No student of a master is ever allowed to put that kind of pressure on a medium. For a student of the master, such a method will not even be necessary. A trained helper utilizes a different method if he finds it important to produce a temporary materialization. So a much safer method is to condense the required amount of matter from the surrounding ether or physical air, and this act is clearly beyond the faculties of an ordinary entity that manifests at a seance. But it is hardly difficult for a student of occult chemistry. So in this method, an exact replica of the physical body is produced by mental efforts made out of matter, which is completely foreign to the physical body. So as a result, the phenomenon of repercussion can't possibly happen as it would if the materialized form is made up of matter from a medium's body. So with that, we've finished the work on the astral plane. Now let us see about responding to prayers or call for help. How does that happen? So there are two parts to this topic. One is attracting help on the astral plane, and that prayers are an opportunity for helpers to do good. Coming to the first part, so one may ask how the astral entities come to know of a physical accident or a cry. This is because any screech or cry which is fueled by strong emotions or a feeling has an impact on the astral plane. It sends the same message as it does on the physical plane. So when an accident occurs, the pain or the fright gives rise to a burst of emotion which flames out like a massive light. This will immediately attract the attention of a nearby astral being. So when come up with a prayer, it's an opportunity for the helpers to do good. So although any sincere spiritual wish expressed in a prayer is already a powerful force to automatically influence some result, however, it is also true that a spiritual effort as such presents an opportunity of influence the powers of good. An invisible helper who is willing can be made a medium through which the energy is poured onward. This also holds true for meditation to a much larger extent. So, with this, we have come to an end of responding to prayers or call for help. In our next video, which is the last video of the series or of this particular module, we will discuss about being a helper. Stay tuned.